All right, I've hit live from my end, folks. Let me know in chat when you can see me and hear me, and then we'll get started. All right. Of course, YouTube, there will be a lag, which is very annoying. I personally find that very annoying, but yeah, we have to live with it. Let me know when I am audible and visible clearly, and let me know if the AV is clear as well, and we'll get started. Awesome. Thank you, Shivam. Thank you for the confirmation. Okay, let's get started. Other folks as well, please confirm if the AV is clear. Let me know in chat. Awesome, Siddhi, thank you. All right, folks, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the second edition of Season 2 of VARC Blitzkrieg. Okay, so I'm not sure if everyone attended the previous session. So we started the Season 2 last week, and this is the second session. And of course, what we're doing here is we're still discussing 21 passages. Okay, 2021. So 2021 slot 3 was pending. I wasn't able to do it last season, so that's why I'm finishing that. And then once that's over, right in June, we're going to start like the proper season 2, which is going to be discussion of CAT 2022, all the slots. Okay, so that's what Blitzkrieg is all about. We do this at 2IIM. We did this last year as well. It was quite successful, and students found it very, very useful. We did this for Quant and VRC, and this year we're hoping to do this for all 3 sections. Okay, so look forward to that. Blitzkrieg is nothing but where we get together and discuss the last year's questions. Okay, so in VRC we go slot wise. In Quant we go topic wise. All right. Okay. Fantastic. So let's get started. Now, in order to make the best use of these sessions, I always recommend that you read the passages in advance and come prepared for the session. Okay, because I can only give you limited time to read the CAT passage, right? In the interest of time. So next time, if you haven't done that already, next time when you come for VRC Blitzkrieg, you will always find the link to the passages, the Google Doc or the Word doc in the description. Please go through the passages, read them, and come prepared. Don't look at the questions. Questions we'll solve together in the session. Okay? But of course, I'm going to give you some time to read the passages as well, but do sort of read them in advance next time. All right? Yeah, Pratik, it's going to be a 2-hour session. Typically, I take my own sweet time to explain passages and questions. So yeah, maximum 2 hours. All right? Okay, fantastic. So today we're going to discuss CAT 21 slot 3, the remaining 2, which is unconscious and timekeeping. The titles don't matter. You will not get titles in the CAT exam. This is just as a placeholder for me to refer to these passages. Okay, now before we begin, I have a very interesting announcement. We're starting a podcast series on our channel. Okay, it's the first time we're doing that. I mean, we're calling it a podcast, but it's actually a video interview. But yeah, so we're starting that. It's a brand new series, and it's going to be called the Leaders Lounge. Okay, where we're going to invite leaders from across industries and have a casual conversation with them. Okay, so it's a conversation where we have like gupshup. Gupshup means chat, casual chat, and we also seek gyan from them, which is knowledge. Okay, so it's going to be a casual, fun session, but of course we'll ask them for advice, career advice, MBA advice, and all of that. So it's going to be a very interesting series. We just shot the first interview a couple of days ago with Rajesh. Obviously, we have to start with Rajesh, who's our in-house leader or the CEO of 2IIM. That episode 1 will be released tomorrow at 6 p.m. So watch out for that and check out the promo in the meantime. Our team has shot a beautiful promo. Okay, my team will send the link on the chat. You can check out the promo later. And stay tuned tomorrow 6 p.m. for the interview. It's a pretty fun interview. I conducted it. I had the opportunity, so it was amazing. And look forward to leaders from across industries in this series. Okay, it's going to be called the Leaders Lounge, and our 2IIM students helped pick that name. Okay, so it's going to be fantastic. Okay, Pranav will send the link on chat. All right, let's get started, folks. Okay, now we're going to start with unconscious. The passage titled unconscious. Now I'm going to give you some time, limited time to read the passage. Go to the description of this video. You will see the link to these passages. Don't read it from the screen because this is just 2 paragraphs. Okay, so go to the description, open that doc, read the passage. Once you're done reading, extract the main idea of this passage in 3 to 4 sentences and send it on chat. I always tell this, okay? If you're my student, you know this. If you're not my student, I always say, when you read a passage, always extract the main idea in your head before you proceed to the questions. So extract that in 3 to 4 sentences, send it on chat, and then we'll discuss the questions together. Okay? Go for it, folks. Link in the description, the passage titled Unconscious. All right? I hope you have fun with it. If you're just joining in, we are reading the first passage, which is unconscious. The link is in the YouTube description, or you can check out chat. Click on that link, open the doc, read this passage, extract the main idea in 3 to 4 sentences, and send it on chat, and then we'll start discussing the questions. Okay, folks, keep reading. You have time. But yeah, if you're just joining in, we are reading the first passage, unconscious. The link is in the description. Read the passage, and once you're done, extract the main idea and send it in 3 to 4 sentences on chat. Now, you might have realized I haven't started discussing, so you can keep reading. You might have realized this is a complex passage. Okay, out of the 4 passages in CAT 21 slot 3, this one was, if not the most difficult, the second most difficult. Okay, so it was complex, so don't panic. Okay, in complex passages, when you're reading, it's okay. It's okay if you give me a broad main idea. Of course, your understanding has to be correct. It can't go wild, right? But in complex passages, even if you come up with a broad main idea, which is correct, that's good enough. You'll be able to solve some questions, if not all, based on that understanding. All right? So try that. Send me the main idea in chat. Don't hesitate. Okay? Doesn't matter whether it's wrong. We're all learning, right? I mean, not we are all learning. You folks are learning, but yeah, don't worry about mistakes at this point in time. Awesome. So I've got one main idea from Mini Verma. Well done, Mini. I'm going to read this. Okay, so talks about the concept of unconscious and ideas evolving out of it. Okay, fair enough. I'll comment on it later, Mini, because I don't want to give away my main idea and the answers, right? But I'll comment on this later. Other folks, do we have the main idea in 2 to 3 sentences, 3 to 4 sentences? Please send it on chat. Sometimes what we can do, and I'll give you a tip here, if it's a complex passage, right, and you're struggling to come up with the main idea in sentences, try to come up with keywords. Try that route. Okay, sometimes when the passage is complex, it's difficult to frame the main idea properly, right? So come up with keywords. That can also help you to a certain extent. You can give me keywords also, right? Keywords around the main idea. Okay, Ashwini Kumar, how, for example, unconscious word fixed in the respective subject, all right? Gokul says it discusses about the origin of the word unconscious and how the world interpreted seeing the abnormal mental behaviors, all right? Sanjana says passage talks about unconscious, how it got defined, and many practices that question certain things which were considered to be answered using the new concept coined unconscious, all right? Nice. You folks are on the right track. It's a complex passage. I don't expect a very accurate main idea here, but you folks are on the right track. So you're doing a good job. Okay. All right. Now, does anyone need more time to read, or should we start discussing? I mean, we'll have to start discussing in any way about a minute. In the interest of time, I can give you 1 more minute to read, and then we will start discussing. Okay, Swati says diverse ideas about unconscious. Okay, fair enough, Swati, but your main idea has to be at least 2 to 3 sentences. Otherwise, it won't do justice, right? So it's too sort of concise. You'll have to elaborate a little bit. Ashna says it's about the origin of the word unconscious and the scientific study of mind-related issues in various medical fields. All right. Sridhar, I remember nobody Sridhar. The passage revolves around the theme of unconscious. It talks about how various different ideas came to be collectively put in a common bucket called the unconscious. Interesting. Very nice, folks. Okay, good job on extracting the main idea. I understand it can be tedious at times to extract main ideas for every passage that you read, but believe me, this will really help you. You should do this for all RCs. Okay, this skill of extracting the main idea from the passage will help you with not only the main idea questions, with all the questions. So you should do this for every RC before you go to questions. Read the RC, extract the main idea, then go to questions. In fact, I even tell my students for leisure reading, when you're reading newspaper articles, Bharat's reading list, I tell them to extract the main idea there as well. Because you have to develop this skill. The skill is not going to happen automatically. You keep doing it and you keep refining that skill. Alright? Okay, fantastic. Now what we'll do is, folks, now comes the fun part. We'll solve the questions. I'll explain this passage definitely because it's complex, but I don't want to explain it up front because then I'll end up giving away the answer. So we'll do the first question and then we'll come back to the passage. Alright? I think we can do the first two questions. I think they're both main idea questions. Alright, let's look at the question now. Okay, now it says, which one of the following sets of words is closest to mapping the main arguments of the passage? Please read the question. It's a new question. You might find this as a new question type and vote in the YouTube poll. I'll start a YouTube poll, vote it there. Don't send it on chat. Okay, and then we'll discuss it. Everybody should vote. Don't worry about making a mistake. Just vote. Alright, the poll is up on your screen. I'll give you 2 minutes to vote for this poll and then we'll get started. We'll discuss it. Please vote in the poll. You have 2 minutes, okay? So don't need to rush. I always end up covering the screen, so I'll move out and look at the question. Okay, I'll be closing the poll in the next 30 seconds. Please vote. And I'm closing the poll now. All right, I've closed the poll. Now the percentages are on your screen. There is a at least half of you agree on one answer. So you're saying that option 3, 54% of you have chosen this as the first choice. Okay. Then 21% of you have chosen 2 as the second choice. And then 12% each for 1 and 4. Okay, now let's look at this question. Now, folks, please pay attention. This is a very important question. I'll tell you why. Since 2020, CAT 2020, this question, this particular question of main idea, you see how they've given you keywords, right? They haven't given you sentences. This has become a very, very popular question since 2020. This was introduced in CAT 2020, and in subsequent years, 21, 22, we have seen these questions in this format. So it's very likely in CAT 23, you will see a question in this format. Okay? Now, this is nothing but a main idea question. It is definitely a main idea question, but it's in the form of keywords. Instead of sentences, they've given you keywords. Okay? Alright, now let's look at this. Which one of the following sets of words is closest to mapping the main arguments of the passage? This is nothing but a main idea question, but in the form of keywords. It does add an additional layer of complexity at times. Sometimes its sentences are easier to crack. So let's look at this. Okay. Now, of course, we'll have to discuss the passage a little bit. Now, think about it. The passage, and when I look at your main ideas also, think about the keywords of the passage. The passage definitely talks about unconscious, isn't it? I mean, unconscious is the theme of the passage. You can't say that unconscious is the main idea. Of course, that's not enough. But unconscious is one of the most important keywords in this passage. I'm sure you agree. Okay? All the main ideas that I saw had the word unconscious. Now, look at the first option. It says imagination, magnetism, psychiatry. Do we have unconscious here? We don't. Right? Look at the second option. Unconscious, latent conception, dreams. Language, unconscious, psychoanalysis. Literary language, unconscious, insanity. Three options have unconscious, the first one doesn't. And unconscious is one of the most important keywords in the passage. Right? So one can't be your answer. Okay, of course I'll explain the passage, don't worry. But I'm just telling you, unconscious is very important. So this has to be a part of the keywords, a part of the main idea. Now ask yourself, what is this passage all about? The passage is definitely about unconscious. But what about unconscious? You can't just say the main idea is around unconscious. What is the author stressing on? Regarding unconscious, what is the author stressing on? Okay, now let's go back and look at the passage. Okay, now I'm going to explain to you, right? So you be a little patient. Also see how I read it so that you can pick best practices from that as well. When you're reading, always focus on the main idea. Don't get stuck on details. Don't get stuck on individual words and sentences. Read everything. Read each and every word, but don't get stuck on it. Focus on the main idea. Focus on the main points. Okay? And be very active and aggressive when you're reading, especially CAT passages because they're complex in nature. You can't just slouch and read it in a very listless way. You have to show interest. You have to show curiosity. You have to be interested in the content that you're reading. Then only your comprehension will improve. Okay? So let's do that. Now what does it say? Today we can hardly conceive of ourselves without an unconscious. Yet between 1700 and 1900, this notion developed as a genuinely original thought. Okay, so it's talking about the concept of unconscious. The unconscious burst the shell of conventional language, coined as it had been to embody the fleeting ideas and the shifting conceptions of several generations, until finally it became fixed and defined in specialized terms within the realm of medical psychology and Freudian psychoanalysis. There are some complex words here. Focus on the main point. What is this paragraph talking about? The paragraph is definitely talking about the concept of unconscious. Notion is nothing but concept or belief. Okay? Now it says the unconscious burst the shell of unconventional language. Right? So it developed as an original thought. It was coined. It burst the shell of conventional language and it was coined as it had been to embody the fleeting ideas and shifting conception of several generations until finally it became fixed. Right? So between 1700 and 900, unconscious probably meant a lot of different things. That's what that sentence means. Embody the fleeting ideas and shifting conceptions of several generations. This is beliefs. So the term unconscious probably meant different things to different people between 1700 and 1900 until finally it became fixed and defined in specialized terms. So that's the main point of this paragraph, right? Talks about the concept of unconscious as it developed as an original thought and how this term was coined, right? So from different definitions, it became fixed in specialized terms. That's the main point of this paragraph. Let's move on. Now, the vocabulary concerning the soul and the mind increased enormously in the course of the 19th century. Okay, this paragraph spoke about language, right? This paragraph is talking about vocabulary. Just keep that in mind. The enrichments of literary and intellectual language led to an altered understanding of the meanings that underlie time-honored expressions and traditional catchwords. Now look at this paragraph. Sorry, look at this part of the paragraph. Isn't it focusing on language? Right? You had language here because it talks about coining that term, and then this part of the paragraph, the second paragraph, also talks about vocabulary and language. Right? It says vocabulary concerning the soul and mind increased enormously in 19th century. Enrichments of literary and intellectual language led to an altered understanding of the meanings. So there's a lot of focus on language and vocabulary. There's mention of that in the first paragraph, and in the second paragraph also it talks about that. Keep that in mind. At the same time, once coined, powerful new ideas attracted to themselves a whole host of seemingly unrelated issues. At the same time, once coined. Sorry, 1 second. At the same time, once coined. Coined meaning what? Defined. Okay, when you coin something, you create something or you define something. That's what coin means. At the same time, once coined, powerful new ideas attracted to themselves a whole host of seemingly unrelated issues, practices, and experiences, creating a peculiar network of preoccupations that as a group had not existed before. Coined what? Coined words. So the term unconscious was coined, okay, for the first time. And what it did was, number one, it altered understanding of the meaning of unconscious. And at the same time, it attracted unrelated ideas. So the word was coined as unconscious. The moment it was coined, it started attracting unrelated ideas. Keep that in mind. Okay? Then, now you see this. Okay? This whole thing here is just the author elaborating on the same thing. The author has made the point that it attracted to themselves a whole host of seemingly unrelated issues. Now this whole thing is just examples or more details. Okay, of course you can't skip it, you have to read it, but you can afford to go a little faster here because it's just elaborating the same idea. So if you've understood the idea, you can go a little faster. The drawn out attempt to approach and define the unconscious brought together the spiritualist and the psychical researcher of borderline phenomena such as apparitions, spectral illusions, haunted houses, mediums, trance, automatic writing. The psychiatrist, I won't read the whole thing. In the exam, you should read everything. And of course, when I read the passage, I read everything. But this is just basically elaborating and explaining how unrelated ideas, host of unrelated ideas, attracted the coining of the term unconscious. Clearly, I can't spell. The coining of the term unconscious attracted a number of unrelated ideas. All those unrelated ideas have been mentioned here. Alright, let's move on. Significantly, most if not all of these practices, for example, hypnotism and surgery or psychological magnetism, originated in the waning years of the 18th century. Waning means later. Okay? And during the early decades of the 19th century, as did some of the disciplines such as psychology and psychical research. The majority of topics too were either new or assumed hitherto. Hitherto means before. Please add this to your vocabulary. Or assumed hitherto unknown colors. Thus, before 1730, few if any spoke in medical terms of the affinity between creative genius and the hallucinations of the insane. So what does this paragraph say? That these practices, different practices being spoken about in the second paragraph, attracted themselves to unconscious, a number of practices and a number of disciplines as well. But most of these practices and disciplines were new. That's what the paragraph is saying. Okay? Thus, before 1790, before the term was coined, few if any spoke in medical terms of the affinity between creative genius and the hallucinations of the insane. This is all connected to unconscious. See, this is different, isn't it? There's creative genius on one side, hallucinations of the insane on the other side. Isn't it contrary? It is contrary. But remember, it's contrary because unrelated ideas were attracting themselves to unconscious. Okay, let's move on. Striving vaguely and independently to give expression to a latent conception, various lines of thought can be brought together by some novel term. Remember the novel term, unconscious. The new concept then serves as a kind of resting place or stock taking in the development of ideas, giving satisfaction and a stimulus for further discussion or speculation. Thus, the massive introduction of the term unconscious by Hartmann in 1869 appeared to focalize many stray thoughts. Focalize many stray thoughts, they brought it together. All these stray thoughts were brought together because this term was coined by Hartmann, affording a temporary feeling that a crucial step had been taken forward, a comprehensive knowledge gained, a knowledge that required only further elaboration, explication, and unfolding in order to bring in a bounty of higher understanding. So this is positive. This part is positive. Like unconscious, this term was coined, okay? And the author is saying that this was positive. You know, a lot of stray thoughts came together. It seemed like a crucial step had been taken forward, comprehensive knowledge gained, all of this is positive. Now see, ultimately Hartmann's attempt at defining the unconscious proved fruitless because he extended its reach into every realm of organic and inorganic, spiritual, intellectual, and instinctive existence, severely diluting the precision and compromising the impact of the concept. So what is the author saying here? That Hartmann coined this term in 1869, right? Seemed to bring together a lot of stray thoughts and temporarily gave a feeling of understanding and knowledge and all of that, but ultimately the author is against it. The author says that Hartmann's attempt didn't really work. Because according to the author, what Hartmann did was, he extended its reach into every realm. He got too many unrelated ideas together. Okay, and hence, because a lot of unrelated ideas came together, it diluted the precision and compromised the impact of the concept. So that's what that paragraph is saying. Now you think about the main idea. I know it's a long explanation, but it was important for this passage. Think about the main idea. There is a lot of stress in this passage. Okay, I'm going to just clear this and then I'll look at the chat. I'm sure there are questions there. Of course, the keyword here is unconscious. It's a very important keyword. But there's a lot of stress on coining this term. What happened when this term was coined? What happened when Hartmann coined this term? Unrelated ideas came together, coining this term, so it's connected to language. Right? There's a lot of stress on that. Vocabulary, language, coining the term unconscious, and how it brought together these unrelated ideas. And the author concludes by saying that it appeared to be beneficial, but it wasn't. Why? Because Hartmann brought together a lot of unrelated ideas and it diluted the concept of unconscious. So the lot of focus there is on unconscious and the language and vocabulary and coining of the term unconscious, and then what happened when the term was uncoined. Bringing together unrelated ideas and, according to the author, diluting the concept of unconscious. That's the main idea. Okay? What do you folks think? I know it's a long explanation, but is this making sense? Is this making sense? I'll repeat the main idea for you, okay, and then you can match it with your main idea. See, according to me, this passage talks about how when the vocabulary and language for the term unconscious was developed, when this term was coined, it brought together a lot of unrelated ideas together. So first what it did was, it altered the meaning. So when the term was coined by Hartmann, it altered the meaning of this concept. But it also brought together a lot of unrelated ideas under the umbrella of unconscious. And that gave a temporary feeling of knowledge and understanding, but according to the author, it diluted the precision and impact of the concept of unconscious. Is this making sense, folks? Please tell me. Honestly, I know it's a long explanation, but this is going to happen in RCs, right? Tell me in chat. Does this main idea make sense? Did you spot that apart from the fact that this is talking about unconscious, did you also spot that it's talking about language and coining the term of unconscious? Let me know in chat. Great. Mini, thank you for confirming. What about others? Folks, I need some interaction on chat. I know there's a lag, but I need some feedback, right? As a teacher, otherwise, how do I know whether you're getting it? Vaibhav says yes, okay? What about others? Awesome, Sridhar. Thank you for confirming. Niharika, great, great. So, that's the whole point, okay? Now, let's go back to the question. This is how we had chosen. So, now, we understood that unconscious was important. Now, in the main idea, we've understood that language is a big part of it. Coining the term, coinage, language, vocabulary, that's very important. Now, let's look for that, okay? Latent conception, dreams, okay, language, okay, literary language, fantastic, right? Now, this doesn't have language. Number 2 doesn't have language. It says latent conception, dreams. And also, the concept is dreams a main idea? Is dreams a part of the main idea? Think about it. No, it's not. Right? And where is the language? We need that language. The whole passage revolves around coining the term unconscious. So this is not your answer. Okay? Now this has language. This has literary language. Which one is more connected to the main idea? Think about it. Is the passage's main idea around literary language, or is the passage's main idea around language? Tell me in chat. I'm going to wait for you. Think about this. Now this is how they trick you. They've given you 2 close options. Both have language. But now you have to ask yourself, is the passage focusing on literary language or just language? Tell me. Tell me in chat. Language. Okay, Sridhar says language. What about others? Language. Okay. Language. Very nice. It is about language. Now, literary language was mentioned where? It was mentioned somewhere, no? I think in just one sort of aspect it was mentioned. I don't even know where it was. But it's mentioned somewhere. It talks about literary language, but that's just one point, right? Okay, the enrichments of literary and intellectual language. That's a different point. It's a very specific point. Okay, but in general, it's about language. Okay. So here, because remember you're talking about main idea. Main idea is not about literary language. That's an additional point. Okay. So language is great. Psychoanalysis is important because that's how unconscious became fixed. The term unconscious became fixed and defined in specialized terms within the realm of medical psychology and Freudian psychoanalysis. That's why it's important. It became fixed. That was the meaning. That was fixed. Hence, the answer is 3. Intellectual language is mentioned. Siddhi, intellectual language is mentioned. That's also an additional point. But the passage is about language. The passage is about vocabulary and language surrounding the term unconscious. So that's an additional point. We are looking at a main idea question. Hence, the answer is number 3. Okay. So the people who chose this, well done. If you got it wrong, it's fine. Don't worry about it. But understand where you got it wrong. Okay. Here, it's very important to have the main idea ready in your head before you go to this question. That's why I say, after RC, you should extract the main idea, whether there is a main idea question or not. Because if you don't extract the main idea and look at the options will confuse you. So, have that main idea ready in your head, then go to the question and options. Okay? Awesome. So, the answer is 3. There's a question, doesn't defining a term or the vocabulary or coining it comes in literary language? No, Sanjana, literary language is connected to literature. That is literary language. It's literature. It's very specific. We're talking about literature. This passage talks about coining the term in general language. Language doesn't have to be literary language. Right? So hence, it's general in language and not just literary language. That is specific type of language that you're talking about. Alright? I hope that's clear. Okay, fantastic. And also psychoanalysis. That's important. Insanity is not a main point. Insanity is an additional point. Psychoanalysis is important, but insanity is an additional point. Okay? I arrived at 3 comparing psychoanalysis and insanity. That's also fine. That's also fine, Shri. That's absolutely fine. If this is confusing you, then look at this. Insanity is not the main point. It's an additional point. So hence you can go to psychoanalysis. That's also fine. Right? Perfect. Awesome. Let's move on. Well done. Let's go to the second question. Solve this. Now look at this. Look at this question, okay? What they've done. Which one of the following statements best describes what the passage is about? Now what is this? This is also a main idea question. You see that? You see why this skill is important. They've given you one passage, 4 questions, 2 are main idea questions. Okay, so that's why this skill is very important. Forget the question. Now, sometimes you won't have a main idea question. That extraction of main idea helps you to answer other questions as well. That's why it's very important. I know I'm repeating it. I will keep repeating it. Okay, till you get tired of it. After every RC, before you go to the questions, extract the main idea. Solve this question. I'll run a poll. Oh man, I have to create this poll again and again. Oh, that's not good. I'm sure there is a way to do this, but hold on one second. There you go. The poll is up. Please solve it. I'll give you 2 minutes and then we'll discuss it. Okay, I will end the poll in the next 20 seconds, folks, so please vote. Ending the poll now. Okay. Very nice. So there is a overwhelming majority in this one. 82% have gone with 3. Okay, this is your first choice. 82%. That's pretty high. 10% have gone for 4, and then there are very few takers for 2, and no takers for 1 at all. Okay, let's discuss this question quickly. We've discussed the main idea, so we'll discuss this question quickly. Which one of the following statements best describes what the passage is about? Main idea question. Okay. Number 1. Now remember the main idea. The main idea is unconscious, language, coinage, all of that. The discovery of the unconscious as a part of the human mind. No, the main idea is not about discovery of the unconscious. The passage is not about discovery of the unconscious. It is about coining the term of unconscious. Okay, so no. The identification of the unconscious as an object of psychical research. Now, it has unconscious, but is psychical research part of the main idea? It's not. And identification of the unconscious as an object of psychical research. Where is the language part? The language part we decided was a key element of the passage. That it doesn't touch on that at all. This is not the answer. Okay. Number 3, the collating of diverse ideas under the single term unconscious. Now, does this mention language? It doesn't mention language. But doesn't it refer to language? Think about it. Tell me in chat. It refers to language, right? Collating of diverse ideas under the single term unconscious. It does refer to language, although not directly. This is a fair answer. Let's park it. Remember, you have to choose the best answer in CAT. The growing vocabulary, very nice. We needed this, right? The growing vocabulary of the soul and mind as diverse processes. The problem here is soul and mind. Is the main idea about soul and mind? No. The main idea is about the term unconscious. That has to be there in your main idea. Soul and mind, there was just one point, one sentence mentioned in the second paragraph. Okay, so great, it talks about vocabulary, but it's not about soul and mind, it's about unconscious. So this, although this is not the perfect main idea, but stop looking for the perfect answer in CAT. Okay, in VRC especially, you have to look for the best answer. Several times you will not get the perfect answer. Best answer out of the 4 is number 3, hence this is the answer. Alright, let's move on quickly. This should be clear. If there's a question, let me know in chat. We'll go to third question. Please read this question and then answer it. Now, one thing, while I run the poll, I'll tell you. When you're solving questions, don't hesitate to go back to specific parts of the passage and reread them and answer the question. Okay? Now again, please listen to what I'm saying. I'm saying it's okay to go back to specific parts of the passage based on your mental map, reread them, and then answer certain questions. So don't hesitate to go back to specific, but don't read the whole passage again, but go back to the specific parts of the passage, reread them, answer. Go for it. Alright folks, last 30 seconds, please vote. Of course, we have to go a little faster in these sessions in the interest of time, but yeah, 30 more seconds and then we'll look at it. Okay, I'm ending the poll in 10 seconds. Okay, it's done. Let's look at this. Okay, again a very overwhelming majority. So generally when I get an overwhelming majority and if the answer is correct, we'll see. That means you found the question manageable. Okay, we'll see. 81% of you are saying 1. Okay, 81% of you. 7% for 2 and 4. And then finally, there are very few takers for number 3. Okay, all of the options listed here. Now this makes it tricky, right? CAT usually, typically doesn't do that. They don't give none of the above or all of the options. But in 2021, and of course in 22 also, we had a few questions like that. It adds an extra layer of complexity. Okay, let's look at this. The enrichments of literary and intellectual language led to an altered understanding of the meanings that underlie time-honored expressions and traditional catchwords. It's a pretty long and a complex sentence. Which one of the following interpretations of this sentence would be closest in meaning to the original? So what it's asking you is, it's asking you to give the meaning of this sentence or interpret this sentence correctly. Whenever you have a question like this is called as a specific inference question or a specific question. These questions in a way are good because they're less time consuming. It's specific, right? So you can go back, read that line, read the lines above and below, get the context, answer it. It's specific, so it's less time consuming. Broader questions like main idea or broad inference questions are typically more time consuming. So of course, it's less time consuming, but it can be complex at the same time. So let's go back. In always these questions, you should go back, read where that sentence was. Okay, and don't just read that sentence, read above and below to get some context if you don't remember. So it's here. The vocabulary concerning the soul and the mind increased enormously in the course of the 19th century. The enrichments of literary and intellectual language led to an altered understanding of the meanings that underlie time-honored expressions and traditional catchwords. Okay, remember this and also remember the context of the coinage of term unconscious. Let's go back because it was in connection with that. Now, break this sentence up. What does it say? The enrichments of literary and intellectual language, first part, led to an altered understanding of the meanings. Second part, that underlie time-honored expressions and traditional catchwords. Third part, break this up, it will help you understand. What got enriched? What got enriched? Enrichments of literary and intellectual language. The literary and intellectual language got enriched. Remember that. Led to an altered understanding of the meanings. Altered understanding of the meanings. Changed understanding of the meanings. Of what? That underlie. That means understanding of the meanings of time-honored expressions and traditional catchwords. Now let's look at this. Number 1. The meanings of time-honored expressions were changed. Is this correct? It is. Altered understanding of the meanings that underlie time-honored expressions. That's correct. By innovations in literary and intellectual language. Innovations means what? New innovation, any innovation is new and improved. That is innovation. Right? So enrichment and innovation, of course, they are not the same, but they are similar. Enrichment is improvement, innovation is also improvement. And remember, the literary and intellectual language got enriched. Here it's in innovations in literary and intellectual language. This seems correct. Let's park it. Number 2. Time-honored expressions and traditional catchwords were enriched. Is this true? Ask yourself. What got enriched? Literary and intellectual language was enriched. Time-honored expressions and traditional catchwords were not enriched. This is twisting that interpretation. This is not the answer. All of the options listed up. Now, 2 is not the answer. This can't be the answer. Literary and intellectual language was altered. Really? Was this altered? No, the meaning was altered. So if you break up the sentence, you'll be able to crack this. So this is not the answer. The correct answer is 1. Okay, I hope it's clear. Well done. Most of you got it right. Folks who didn't get it right, next time try to break it up. And always go back and read the sentence, read the context before answering the question. Let's go to 4. Do this. If you're enjoying the session, hit the like button. Okay? If you're not enjoying the session, let me know in chat how I can improve. You can hit that dislike button as well, but don't do that. Okay. Alright, let me run the poll. There you go. The poll is on. Please vote. Don't forget to hit like. Alright folks, I'm ending the poll in 30 seconds. Okay, ending the poll now. Please vote. And we're done. Okay, I gave you, excuse me, I gave you slightly longer for this question because this question is time consuming, and I'll tell you why. 53% of you have gone with 1. Okay, lower majority, and this was bound to happen in this question because this question is tricky. 15, 15, 15 equally split between 2, 3, 4. Okay. Right? Okay, so this question is tricky. Now, again, Sridhar was saying on chat that he almost missed the except in this question. Now, folks, remember this except here is capitalized. Don't get used to it. Okay, CAT can suddenly, the question setter is more evil, right? They can just give you except in lowercase. Right? So that's why I always say when it comes to questions and the options, read them very slowly. Read each and every word very, very slowly. Otherwise, you'll miss one word, a not or a cannot or an except, and you'll get the answer wrong. Silly mistake. So don't do that. Read the questions and options very carefully. Read all the 4 options and then choose the best option. Anyway, all of the following statements may be considered valid inferences from the passage except. It's a broad inference question because this inference can come from anywhere in the passage. That's why it's time consuming. Your broad inference questions, specific inference questions. Broad inference questions like this are more time consuming. All of the following statements may be considered valid inferences. I always say if except is confusing you, first read the question without except. Okay? All of the following statements may be considered valid inferences from the passage. All of them are valid. Okay? All 4 are valid. Except one is not valid. Now your job is to pick this one. Okay, so if you read it without except and then you read it with except, it will become clear. Your job is to pick this one option that is not a valid inference from this passage. So 3 are valid inferences, 1 is not, you have to pick 1. Okay, alright, let's look at this. Number 1, new conceptions in the 19th century could provide new knowledge because of the establishment of fields such as anesthesiology. Okay, establishments of fields such as anesthesiology. Where is this being spoken about in the passage? Is the passage I'm looking for my clicker. Is the passage talking about establishment of the field of anesthesiology? Let's go back and look. Where does it talk about it? Somewhere it says, the drawn-out attempt to approach and define the unconscious brought together several ideas. And one of the ideas that is mentioned is the physiologist and the physician who puzzled over sleep, dream, sleepwalking, anesthesia. Right? So anesthesia is being spoken about in the passage, but it's being spoken about in relation to unrelated ideas getting attracted to the term unconscious. That's the whole concept. So where is anesthesiology? Where is anesthesiology? It's talking about anesthesia and it's totally talking about a different concept. There is no mention of anesthesiology, right? In the passage. So new conceptions in the 19th century could provide new knowledge because of the establishment of fields such as anesthesiology. Where is that? It's not there. Doesn't seem like a valid inference. Let's park it. We're parking because we haven't looked at the other ones. Unrelated practices began to be treated as related to each other as knowledge of the mind grew in the 19th century. Absolutely, yes. This is the second paragraph. It's always happens when I get too excited. Hold on one second. Right? This is the second paragraph. So this is a valid inference. We are looking for one which is not a valid inference. This is not an answer. 18th century thinkers were the first to perceive a connection between creative genius and insanity. Where is this being spoken about? Let's go back. Thus, before 1790, and this is 18th century, if this confuses you, get that clarified. 1700 to 1799 is called the 18th century. Thus, before 1790, few if any spoke in medical terms of the affinity between creative genius and the hallucinations of the insane. Understand this. Few if any spoke. What does this mean? Google it. Few if any spoke can mean two things. One, very few, or none. Few if any spoke before 1790 can also mean nobody spoke before 1790. About what? About the affinity between creative genius and the hallucinations of the insane. So few if any spoke can also mean none. Add this to your vocabulary. Hence, you can infer this. 18th century thinkers were the first to perceive a connection between creative genius and insanity, because before that, few if any spoke. That can also mean none. This is a valid inference. Without the linguistic developments of the 19th century, the growth of understanding of the soul and the mind may not have happened. Remember, it says may not. One second. It says may not have happened. And this is true. This is a central idea. The linguistic developments, the enrichments in the language brought about the growth of this is of course a part of the central idea, not the soul and mind bit, but the second paragraph beginning says that. Enrichments in the language brought about an improved understanding of the soul and mind. So may not have happened, this is a valid inference. It could not have happened without the linguistic developments. So hence this is not the answer. The answer is 1. It's a tricky one. 1 because it's a broad inference question and a few options here are tricky. But the answer is definitely 1. Okay, fantastic. Let's go to the next passage, folks. Okay, now this passage, again, tell me in chat the complexity of this passage. So, unconscious you read, you solved the questions also. Overall, passage plus questions, tell me the complexity in chat. Did you find it low? Did you find it medium? Did you find it high? And start reading this passage as well. Okay, go to the YouTube description, open the bit.ly link, read the passage on timekeeping, and extract the main idea, send it to me. At the same time, tell me the complexity of the previous passage. Yeah, scroll down in the document. The second or third page has the timekeeping passage. As always, when you're done, please extract the main idea in 2 to 3 sentences and send it to me. See you. Okay, I've got the first main idea, actually 2 now. Ashwini is saying finding relationship between accuracy and entropy beneficial. Finding relationship between accuracy and entropy beneficial. Okay. Rishik says this passage talks about the accuracy of the clock and how it is related to the change in entropy. Alright. This passage mainly talks about clocks with specific focus on how accuracy of a clock and its entropy are related. That's what Sridhar said. Vedika says passage talks about keeping time, accuracy and its relationship with entropy. Alright. Now folks, keep reading, by the way, if you need more time. See, I'll give you a suggestion. You folks are summarizing the main idea and you're telling me, most of you have said, it talks about the relationship between accuracy and entropy. That's what you've said. But the passage clearly outlines that relationship, right? The passage clearly tells you what is the relationship between accuracy and entropy. So when you're giving the main idea, don't say that the passage talks about how it is related. Give the relationship itself in the main idea. Because that is the main idea. You folks are on the right track. Okay, but I'm just saying when you're extracting the main idea to your head, don't say how it is related. The passage talks about the relationship, that is the main idea. Express the relationship. Tell me what is the relationship. That's what you need to tell me in the main idea. Okay, so folks who have given me now again try and tell me what exactly is the relationship between accuracy and entropy according to the passage. That's where you will hit the nail on the head. Okay, but you folks are definitely on the right track. Okay, Pratik says how measuring time with more accuracy leads to increase in entropy or disorder. Now you see Pratik is expressing the relationship. Good job. But converse isn't true always. This idea of entropy generation can be used in quantum computers and applications. Nice. So now what Pratik has done is he's actually expressed the relationship, which is the main idea. Right? So just keep that in mind. Okay, we'll start discussing this. Okay, we'll go to the questions first and then come back to the passage. Alright? Rate the complexity of this passage in chat. Tell me, low, medium, high. How did you find this passage when you were reading? Just tell me in chat. And also, the word entropy might have scared you. It happens, right? When you see an unfamiliar word and the passage revolves around entropy. Now, if you don't know the meaning of entropy, you start panicking. But if you would have observed, they actually tell you what entropy is, right? They say keeping time accurately comes with a price. The maximum accuracy of a clock is directly related to how much disorder or entropy. So they have defined this for you. Right? So don't panic when you see an unfamiliar word. Okay, try to understand with context. Between medium to high is what Sridhar is saying. What about others? Let's go to the questions in the meantime. Okay, let's do this first. I'll explain the passage, don't worry. Read this question, and it's a specific question, so go back, read the context, and then answer. I'll run the poll. Okay, the poll is up. Okay, Prateek says low difficulty being a mechanical engineer. Yes, correct. So this is about thermodynamics. I'm not an engineer, by the way, but it's about thermodynamics. So as an engineer, this content would have resonated with you. But that happens. Sometimes you get a philosophy passage, and an engineer wouldn't resonate with it, but it would resonate with an art student, right? So yeah. So folks, if you found this passage complex, then you should be reading more about science. If you found the earlier passage complex, you should be reading more about psychology. You have to read different genres, right? You have to get familiar with them. That's why it's very important that you read different kind of material. Psychology, science, culture, people, philosophy, different topics, right? So that you're familiar with them, and when you encounter that topic in the exam, it's not a big deal. I'm going to move out of the way. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm ending the poll in 10 seconds. Okay, Tarun, I'll answer a question quickly. Is there a weekend batch or weekday batch where you teach in the morning time? We have weekend offline batches, Tarun. Okay, offline batches. If you're in Chennai, you can call us on a number and our academic counselors will assist you. Online at this point in time, we don't have any weekend batches, but offline we do in Chennai. Okay, overwhelming majority here, 85% of you have gone with 1, okay? It's quite overwhelming. I mean, it is. 11% has gone with 4. 3% has gone with 2. No takers for 3. Okay. Now, if this is right, that means you found the question manageable. Now, remember, this is a specific question. It's a specific inference question. These questions are less time consuming. Okay. So, if you have to pick sometimes, you have less time and you want to pick sometime. Again, these questions can also be complex depending on whether you've understood the line or not. But if you've understood the line, then go for it. It's less time consuming than a broad inference question. Okay. All right. It says it's a bit like fuel use in a car. Just because I'm using more fuel doesn't mean that I'm going faster or further. What is the purpose of this example? What is the purpose of this example? Remember that. Let's go back. Always with these questions, go back and read this sentence. Let's go back. Okay, here it is. Okay. Now just don't read that sentence, read the context there as well. With specific questions, you should do that. The relationship that the researchers found is a limit on the accuracy of a clock. So it doesn't mean that a clock that creates the most possible entropy would be maximally accurate. Hence, a large inefficient grandfather clock isn't more precise than an atomic clock. It's a bit like fuel use, says Huber. Understand the sentence. Now, what is the relationship between entropy and accuracy? By the way, entropy, as somebody rightly pointed out, Vijay Raghavan, entropy is degree of disorderness or randomness. But if you don't understand that, you can consider entropy as disorder. That also will help you to understand the passage, which is said in the first paragraph. What is the relationship between entropy and accuracy? It says, keeping time accurately comes with a price. Okay? The more the accuracy, the more the entropy. Is that correct, folks? Sorry, 1 second. This is what the passage is saying, right? This is what the passage is saying. More accuracy means more entropy. That is the relationship, right? That's explained in the first paragraph as well. Okay? The researchers found that as they increased the clock's accuracy, the heat produced in the system grew, increasing the entropy of its surroundings by jostling nearby particles. So more accuracy in a clock leads to more disorder or more entropy. That's the relationship between accuracy and entropy. Okay, I hope you agree. Now, the author is giving you an analogy. This is what we call an analogy. It says it's a bit like fuel use in a car. Just because I'm using more fuel doesn't mean that I'm going faster or further. What the author is doing is the author is using an analogy. So entropy, the author is connecting it to, they're connecting entropy to fuel. They're connecting accuracy to going faster or speed. Alright? Now, look at this. More accuracy means more entropy. Okay? More speed means more fuel. But is the converse also true? Ask yourself, does the passage say, the passage is saying more accuracy means more entropy. But does the passage say more entropy means more accuracy? No, they don't say that. The converse is not true according to the passage. The passage clearly tells you that. More accuracy means more entropy. But that doesn't necessarily mean that more entropy means more accuracy. Okay, I hope that's correct. So now think about it. The purpose of this example or the statement is to explain this concept in a better way. So now let's look back. First one, if you go faster in a car, you will tend to consume more fuel. More speed means more fuel, correct? But the converse is not necessarily true. In the same way, increased entropy does not necessarily mean greater accuracy of the clock. More accuracy means more entropy, but not necessarily more entropy means more accuracy. This is a very good option. Let's park it. Second one, the further you go in a car, the more fuel you use. In the same way, the faster you go in a car, the less time you use. Where is the discussion of entropy? Remember, the question is asking you what is the purpose of this example. The purpose of this example is to explain, sorry about that. The purpose of this example is to explain that concept further. That entropy is not mentioned in this option at all. This can't be the answer. If you measure the speed of a car with a grandfather clock, the result will be different than if you measure it with an atomic clock. No connection to this sentence. The further and faster you go in a car, the greater the amount of fuel you will use, the greater the amount of heat produced, and hence the greater the entropy. No, it's distorted. The first one is indeed the correct answer. Alright? Okay, awesome. Let's move on. If there's a question, let me know. But well done on this. Okay? Let's go to the next one. Is this clear, folks? Let me know in chat. The poll is up. Please answer. Tarun is asking, will we start on a weekend online batch in the future? We might, Tarun. We might. Okay? We might start a weekend online batch. You can call us up on our numbers. Look it up on the internet. Please feel free to call us up tomorrow and we'll give you all the information. Or you can email info@2am.com. Alright? I'll move out of the way. Shri, I'll answer your question at the end. Stay back. We can go back to the first passage. Okay, folks, I'll end the poll in 30 seconds. Please don't forget to hit like. If you're finding the session useful, hit like, subscribe to our channel as well. I'm going to do many more of these sessions in June. Starting June, I'll do this every week. And I'll cover the entire 22, all the 22 slots, RC and verbal ability included. So, ending the poll in 10 seconds. Okay, now, sorry, 66% of you have gone with 3. Okay, it's a pretty sizable majority. 20% has gone with 1. 8% has gone with 4. And then this is your 4th choice. Let's discuss this question. Okay. The author makes all of the following arguments in the passage except. Now again there's an except question. Now I told you that if this confuses you, read it without except first. The author makes all of the following arguments in the passage. That means all 4 of them are arguments that have been made by the author in the passage. Except one argument the author has not made. Now the question is asking you to pick this one. The argument that the author has not made in the passage. So 3 are arguments that the author has made. 1 is an argument that the author has not made. Your job is to pick that one. Let's look at it. Now, this was the second option. The relationship between accuracy and entropy may not apply to all clocks. Now think about it. Is there any mention of this in the passage? Or is there a statement where you can infer this from? Always ask yourself, when you're making an inference, ask yourself for evidence. Where is the evidence? Relationship between accuracy and entropy may not apply to all clocks. Let's see if there is evidence. We can't be sure yet that these results are actually universal, though, because there are many types of clocks for which the relationship between accuracy and entropy haven't been tested. Isn't this the evidence? Isn't this the evidence where it says there are many types of clocks for which the relationship hasn't been tested? So can we infer that the relationship between accuracy and entropy may not apply to all clocks because we haven't tested the relationship in case of all clocks? So it's an inference. I gave you the evidence. You can infer this. This is not an answer. Remember, we are picking the one that we cannot infer. Researchers found that the heat produced in a system is the price paid for increased accuracy of measurement. Absolutely. It connects it to heat. Increased accuracy creates more heat, which creates more entropy. That's what it's saying. Let's look for that. Yes, the researchers found that as they increased the clock's accuracy, the heat produced in the system grew, increasing the entropy. So this you can infer. This can't be an answer. There is no difference in accuracy between an inefficient grandfather clock and an atomic clock. Does the passage say there is no difference in accuracy between an inefficient grandfather clock and an atomic clock? In fact, the passage tells you, one second. Yeah. Hence, a large inefficient grandfather clock isn't more precise than an atomic clock. The passage is clearly telling you a large inefficient grandfather clock isn't more precise than an atomic clock. That means there is a difference. So can you infer this? You can't infer this. This might be your right answer. Let me not select it. Let me park it because I haven't looked at 4. Okay? Always do that. In designing clocks for quantum computers, both precision and heat have to be taken into account. Does it talk about quantum computers and precision and heat? Okay. Understanding this relationship could be helpful for designing clocks in future, particularly those used on quantum computers and other devices where both accuracy and temperature are crucial. That's where you can infer that in designing clocks for quantum computers, both precision, accuracy, and heat, temperature have to be taken into account. Hence, this is not your answer. This is indeed your answer. Okay? Alright, I hope this is clear. There's a question, let me know. Very interesting question. Now, folks who got it wrong, see, you have to understand why you got this wrong. This is an inference question. It's a broad inference question. With inferences, remember, always ask yourself, do I have evidence? Evidence is statements in the passage where you are inferring something from. If you don't have evidence, then you can't infer. So I gave you evidence in each of these cases. This is what you should be doing when you're solving the questions. Your accuracy will go up if you start looking for evidence for every inference that you draw. Okay? Number 3. Oh, interesting. Main idea question. Okay, I've run the poll. Please answer. Shri is asking me, can I do sessions on parajumbles and parasummary? Absolutely, I will. So Shri, when I start discussing 22 in June, I will cover everything. Okay. In fact, if you go back and check the playlist on our channel, you will get a very good session on parajumbles. I'm calling my own session very good, but I did a session on parajumbles last year, and that was quite well received. You can check that as well. I've done sessions on parasummary as well, and I will be doing the 22 ones in June. Okay. Okay, I'll end the poll in 30 seconds. Ending the poll now. All right. Oh, very nice. 95% of you have gone with 3. All right. That's a huge number. Okay. So very overwhelmingly, you're telling me that this is the main idea. 4% has gone with 1. Okay. No takers for 2 and 4. All right. Let's look at this. Which one of the following sets of words and phrases serve best as keywords of the passage? Again, this is a main idea question. Okay, we did this in the previous passage as well. I told you this is a very common format that has started appearing since 2020. Expect this kind of question in your exam as well. So you have to extract the main idea and then solve this question. Now, I won't read the entire passage. Let me know in chat, by the way, if you want me to read it later. After solving it, I'm happy to read it and explain. So let me know in chat, don't hesitate. But what is the main idea here of this passage? The main idea is definitely about clocks, number 1. And in clocks, when the more accurate a clock is, the more entropy it creates. So the main idea is definitely about the relationship between accuracy of a clock and entropy of a clock. And what is that relationship? More accuracy leads to more entropy. Entropy is nothing but disorder. Okay, that is the main idea. And of course, another element of the main idea, as Pratik rightly pointed out, the converse isn't true or isn't necessarily true. And also, it also talks about how whether you consider what is that? Yeah, whether you consider your regular clocks, your classic clocks, or your quantum clocks, the relationship remains the same. That's what it's saying, right? Says that, yeah. When the researchers compared the results with the theoretical models developed for clocks that rely on quantum effects, they were surprised to find that the relationship between accuracy and entropy seemed to be the same for both. So classic clocks as well as quantum clocks, the relationship is the same. Alright, so that's the main idea. Now let's look at these keywords. Okay, now think about it. You definitely need keywords like clocks. You definitely need the relationship, accuracy and entropy. More accuracy leads to more entropy in a clock. So these are the keywords that you need. First one, electric current, heat, quantum effects. This was a second choice. Where is entropy? Where is accuracy? Where is clock? It doesn't have anything. Silicon nitride, energy, grandfather clock. Silicon nitride was mentioned in the first passage, first paragraph. But that was just a point explaining the experiment. Energy, grandfather clock. This is also an additional point. Measuring time, accuracy, entropy. Fantastic. Membrane, arrow of time, entropy. Membrane is not the main idea. It's an additional point. This is definitely the correct answer. Okay, well done. Well done. You folks correct. The people who selected one, please understand this can't be the main idea because there is no accuracy, no entropy, no time. Alright, let's move on. Do this. Alright folks, vote on the poll. Don't forget to hit the like button if you're enjoying the session. Okay, folks are in the poll in 30 seconds. Ending the poll now. Okay, you folks are split in this one, and this is a tricky question. Okay, let's wait for the results to come in. Oh, weird. Okay. The results didn't really show up, right? Or did they? They didn't. That's funny. Anyway, I can't see the results of the poll for some reason, but I think it was split. It was quite split. Okay, so you definitely found the question tricky. All right, let's discuss this. Okay, now look at the question. Look at the question with the way they framed it. None of the following statements can be inferred from the passage except that. Now, this is different from the previous question. The previous said all of the following statements can be inferred from the passage except. Here it's changing all to none. This is a double negative. Okay, this becomes even more confusing. So here definitely read it without except first. Okay, first only read this. None of the following statements can be inferred from the passage. What does that mean? None of the following statements can be inferred from the passage. Zero. None of them can be inferred from the passage. Now bring in except. So what does that mean? One of them can be inferred. One of them can be inferred, and that is what you have to pick. Or you can say 3 not inferred, 1 inferred. And your job is to pick this. Alright, don't get confused. Read it without except, then with except and solve it. Okay, so none 0, 1 inferred. That means only one statement can be inferred. Your job is to pick that. Okay, let's read that. Number 1. The arrow of time has not yet been tested for atomic clocks. Arrow of time was mentioned in paragraph 2. Here. Was atomic clocks mentioned here? Look at this. The increase in entropy in timekeeping may be related to the arrow of time. Says Marcus Huber at the Austrian Academy of Sciences in Vienna, who was part of the research team. It has been suggested that the reason that time only flows forward, not in reverse, is that the total amount of entropy in the universe is constantly increasing, creating disorder that cannot be put in order again. That is it. It just talks about that. But can you infer from this that the arrow of time has not been tested for atomic clocks? No. Arrow of time is mentioned, but there is no mention of atomic clocks in connection with arrow of time. So you can't infer from the passage that the arrow of time has not yet been tested for atomic clocks. This is an inference you can't make. So remember, you have to pick an option which is a valid inference. 1 inferred. Okay? Number 2. Quantum computers are likely to produce more heat and hence more entropy because of the emphasis on their clock's accuracy. Quantum computers are likely to produce more heat and hence more entropy because of the emphasis on their clock's accuracy. Can we infer this? Can we infer that quantum computers likely to produce more heat hence more entropy because of the emphasis on the clock's accuracy. Now think about it. What is this option saying? The option is saying that in quantum computers, more accuracy leads to more heat and hence more entropy, isn't it? I'll repeat this again. This option is saying in quantum computers, more accuracy leads to more heat and hence more entropy, which is actually the main idea of our passage. So let's go back. Quantum computers was mentioned in the last paragraph. You should read this and figure it out. Now, where does it say that? Understanding this relationship could be helpful for designing clocks in future, particularly those used in quantum computers and other devices where both accuracy and temperature are crucial. Right? And it also says the relationship is the same for both. So this is where you can infer, potentially infer this. Okay? So let's park this. Grandfather clocks are likely to produce less heat and hence less entropy because they are not as accurate. Now remember this, the relationship that we spoke about is more accuracy leads to more entropy and not the other way around. The converse is not necessarily true is what the passage is saying. Think about this. This is talking about the converse. This you can't infer. 4. A clock with a 50 nanometer thick membrane of silicon nitride has been made to vibrate, producing electric currents. Let's go back. First paragraph. Sorry. Keeping time accurately comes with a price. Alright. Okay. The clock consists of a 50 nanometer thick membrane of silicon nitride vibrated. Sorry. The clock consists of a 50 nanometer thick membrane of silicon nitride vibrated by an electric current. Vibrated by an electric current. Vibrated using an electric current, not producing. Look at this. This is twisting that. It was vibrated using electric current. This says a clock with a 50 nanometer thick membrane of silicon nitride has been made to vibrate producing electric currents. The clock is not producing electric currents. The clock is being made to vibrate using electric currents. That one word makes the difference here. Some of you might have fallen for this option. That's why it's very important to read each and every word of the option carefully and think about it. Okay, that one word changes the whole thing. So this is not inferred. The only one that you can infer is 2. And that's the right answer. There you go. 2 is 42%. 1 was 36%, 3 was 15%. Okay, so 1, the arrow of time has not yet been tested for atomic clocks. You can't infer this. Or if you can, give me the evidence. Where is the evidence? There is no evidence for that. Okay, and similarly, 3, which is 15%, this also I told you that you can't infer because it's talking about the converse relationship. Alright, okay. What would be the answer if all of the following statements were given instead of none? All of the following can be inferred except. All of the following statements can be inferred. No, but here you can't have that, right? Shri, you can't have that because all of the following, if this was all, that would become 4 minus 1. It would become all of the following and then 1. So you're saying that 1 you cannot infer. So then you can't have an answer here because there are 3 statements here that you can't infer. Okay, so that can't change it, that none cannot be changed to all in this question because there are 3 statements you can't infer. Right? So in this case, you have to pick the one that you can infer and only this statement can be inferred. Evidence has been disposed. Okay, all right. Okay, perfect, folks. So yeah, we're done with this now. If you have any questions, I'll stay back for 5-10 minutes. I'm happy to solve it. If there's anyone who needs me to explain the passage, let me know. But we have touched on the main idea anyway. Okay. All right, fantastic. So good job. Please do like the stream before you go. Subscribe to our channel. I'll see you again on YouTube in June when I start doing 2022. Okay, so I'll do all the passages and including verbal ability. In the meantime, you can check out the previous sessions. Alright? Okay. Would 1 be the right answer in that case? No, Shri, it can't be right. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You can't change the question here. It's not possible. All of the following statements can be inferred from the passage except. Right? There are 3 statements that cannot be inferred. So, any of the 3 would be the right answer. 1, 3 or 4. Okay? Because you can't infer 1, you can't infer 3, you can't infer 4. Okay? Alright. Isn't arrow of time a phrase in relation to timekeeping? Yes, but is it related to time? Where are you? See, arrow of time is fine. What the paragraph is saying is that the increase in entropy in timekeeping may be related to the arrow of time. And the arrow of time is, it's like this. It moves forward. Okay? It has been suggested that the reason that time only flows forward, not reverse, is that the total amount of entropy in the universe is constantly increasing, creating disorder that cannot be put in order again. So entropy is increasing, it cannot be decreased. That's why the arrow of time is also like that and it cannot go in reverse. That's what it's saying. But you can't infer that the arrow of time has not yet been tested for atomic clocks. The passage doesn't talk about the connection of atomic clocks and arrow of time anywhere. So you can't infer the statement. It's very specific, right? Atomic clocks. That is the problem with that option. Okay. I asked because I read the question wrong. Okay, all right, got it, Shri. Yeah, in that case, one would be the correct answer, but also 3 and 4. All right. Okay, no problem, Shri. See, this is bound to happen in the beginning. This is a tricky question type. That's why, see, the thing with this is, again, I've told you the accept thing. You have to get used to these question types. They will come in the exam also. Double negatives in CAT 22, we had triple negatives also. But don't worry about them. Just practice them. Practice these question types. Then once you practice enough number of double negatives and triple negatives, it will come naturally. Okay? Alright. Also, it is figurative. Yeah, I'm guessing it is figurative. My point, I'm going to go back and say there's no connection with atomic clocks in the passage. Alright? Okay. Fantastic. Any more questions? Let me know, folks. Otherwise, there are a couple of questions here. Pratik, in leisure reading, can we read books of his or her interest? If one likes mysteries and thrill, can one read espionage books, given the fact that it will limit the genres? Also, can it be compensated by reading BRL daily? Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Okay? If you're reading Bharat's reading list daily, Bharat covers a lot of genres, so that's great. Okay, so that's fantastic. Yeah, you can read the fiction books of your genre that you like. But see, one thing, and you mentioned that diversity is very important. So read fiction, read espionage if you like it, that's great. But make sure that you are also reading different genres. Alright? And what you should also do is read fiction as much as you want. Okay, don't sort of stop that. Reading is great. Any reading will help you. But now you have to also figure out, as we get closer to the exam, which are the genres that are giving you trouble. For instance, I'm not very comfortable with philosophy, so I force myself to read philosophy. So now psychology or science or whatever is more uncomfortable for you, you need to start focusing more on that as well. So consciously go and look for those kind of passages. So because the more familiar you get with that general vocabulary, see, psychology has a vocabulary, science has a vocabulary, right? So the more familiar you get with that vocabulary, the better you will get at comprehending those genres. Alright? From where can we get various types of question types? Shri, so you can solve past year question papers. Alright, that's the best source. Past year question papers are available on our website from 2017. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Lot of questions. On the internet, you will also see questions from 1991, 92 to 2008. So you can get those all different sorts of question types from there. Okay? Of course, I mean, if you're a 2IM student, you'll get a ton of practice questions in the course. We also give books, right? So those are different sources that you can use. Okay, fantastic people. Thank you very much. I will see you in June. Okay, take care. Good job today, people, especially who stayed for the entire 2 hours. Good job. These sessions will really help you. Okay, so next time, to make the best use of it, read the passage, then come prepared. Okay. All right. Good night, everyone.